I want to quickly cover vowel letters. So before we had a vowel system in Hebrew, certain consonants had to function as vowel sounds sometimes. And these are those consonants. We call them vowel letters. They were vav, yod, and hey. Okay? So here's an example of how that would work. Melech means king. But if we put a hey at the end, it made an a sound. Malka. It wasn't malka. It was just malka. Malka means queen. Or malchu. Ooh, notice it's not malch v. The vav is not making a v sound. It's making an oo sound here. Or it could actually even be malko, different than what I've written here. It could be malko, which meant his king. Malchu means they reigned. So these letters, they sometimes did double duty. They function instead as a vowel sound. This is not so odd if you realize in English, when you learn English, you probably had a teacher who told you that the vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And then the really good teacher said, and sometimes W, right? So our Y in English is like the yod in Hebrew. Sometimes it's a y sound, and sometimes it's functioning as like an E or A sound. Yay, we're making good progress now. So here's an example with some vowel letters. All right. So let me first start with this one on the bottom. This says Yeshua. Yeshua. Right? This is the Hebrew word from which Jesus comes. And the reason it gets morphed into Jesus is because in Greek, there's no sh sound. There's no way to make a sh. So that becomes S. S. And so the Greek name for Yeshua is Iesus. Iesus. And so that Iesus, there's also no y. There's no way to make a hard consonantal y. So it's Iesus. And then later that comes into Latin. The Y sound is a J. J was a w, a y in Latin. And so then that comes into German where the j is still a y, but then into English it's j. Right? So then we end up with Jesus, when his name was Yeshua. And here in his name, the first yod is a consonant. Listen, y, Yeshua. But this is not a vav sound, it's a oo. It's a oo sound. It's functioning as a vowel. So this is an example of using a vowel letter to make the sound correct. All right. In the Torah, here's an example without vowel markers. In red, you can see in slight red there, we have vowel letters functioning as vowel signs. So this is from the first book. In the very beginning, it says, Bereshit, in a beginning, bara Elohim, God created, et hashamayim. So listen here, Elohim, this is E, it's not Y, this is Bereshit, okay? If we fast forward, et ha'aretz, pardon me, et hashamayim, et ha'aretz, v'ha'aretz, haita. Look, it's not haita, it's haita. This is an A sound. Tohu, it's not tov, it's tohu. This is an oo sound. It's okay if you're not remembering this right away. This is just to expose you. Etc., etc. You can see all these places where these vowel letters are making sounds. They're being used to mark where sounds are, where vowel sounds. Okay? So this was how it was until around 1,200 years ago, 12 to 1,100 years ago, when the three schools in Tiberias, they tried to codify a way of capturing the vowel sounds in Hebrew, because Hebrew, like Arabic today, was written without all the vowel sounds. You only had a few letters doing double duty. Arabic does the same thing. So this was the system in Babylon that was invented for making a, e, o, u. And if there's a no vowel, they'd put the squares where the letter was, they'd put this on top. This was the Palestinian system, it's called, not meaning Palestinians, which is not a people group. There's no such people group as Palestinian, right? This means Jews living in quote-unquote Palestine. And then there's the Tiberian system. The Tiberian system, this is what we use today. And the famous codex known as the Westminster Leningrad Codex, this came from this system. Also the Aleppo Codex, which was the best preserved Bible in the world for preserving the entire vowel system as well, until it was In Syria, some Muslims started a fire to burn down the synagogue, and much of the Torah was destroyed. So now we only have a little bit of the Torah from this and the rest of the Bible from the Aleppo Codex. But we still have the runner-up. The Westminster Leningrad Codex is safe in St. Petersburg, Russia. So these are the vowel signs that you will learn. So when we have a consonant and we want to say ah underneath, you can write it this way with a little line. That means ah. So for example, if I put a bait here, it's a terrible looking bait, I apologize, but oh, not so bad, he's okay. B, b, and I have the ah underneath, that's ba. Or over here, maybe yellow's not so great, let's change to red. Over here, if I write a lamed, okay, l, this says la, 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 la. Okay? If I write the lamed here, this is a short E sound. Oh, terrible lamed. Oi, oi, oi. I'm drawing on the touchpad of a laptop, so my handwriting isn't usually that atrocious. It's just, it'd be much easier with a stylus. All right, here's and there we go. Le, le. This one is a long E, a, like predator or prey, prey, E-Y in English, a. So if we have the lamed here, it would say lay, lay. This one is called a chirik. It's a short I sound, I, like to hit, or he bit, the dog bit. So with our lamed, li, li. This is called a holum. This is an O sound, and it comes just above the letter, right? With lamed, it's not totally on top, but he's above the main part of the letter. So this says low, low. For U sound, we have two ways to write it. We have this short one and this longer one. And actually with holum, there's also a longer way. You could also write it next to the letter with a vav and a dot on top of the vav. So I could also write low, 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 low. The one underneath is traditionally a shorter U, but oftentimes we elongate it. So like la, and then next to it with the dot and the lamed in the middle would be U, lu, but oftentimes they both become U. La or lu and lu, lu. And then when we have no vowel at all, we mark it with this sign underneath. So every letter, for the most part, except for the letter that's the last in the word, has to have a vowel marker on it today. And this is over 1,000 years of tradition. Every single Christian Bible, the Old Testament portion, is translated from a text which has this Jewish tradition in it that was invented around 1,000 years after, around 1,000 AD or 1,000 years in the Common Era, we would say, the CE. So this is part of the Hebrew Bible now. But these vowel signs are not sacrosanct. They were not there in the beginning, right? They were added later as a way to preserve the pronunciation because Jews were no longer living in Israel. They were all over the world and they were forgetting how to pronounce properly Hebrew. So the Masoretes decided that they had to protect the text and safeguard it with vowels. So the entire Tanakh was annotated this way and captured in various codices. And that's where we get the so-called Masoretic text, or the Masorah, meaning from the tradition, the way that was passed down. And you'll learn in this class about other signs that are also in the Hebrew Bible that aren't usually bothered to be translated into Christian translations because they like these signs, and this seems important, but the other signs and the other information oftentimes are seen as not being important. But it's all the same Holy Bible. It's all in there. So this is something you'll learn in Hebrew, and you can decide for yourself if the other signs that are part of that tradition are as important as the vowel markers or not. Okay, we've got about 30 minutes to make our deadline of 4. I think we can do it. So the formatic of the Masoretic tradition, this is how the Torah was written before. And so if any of you have ever seen the Dead Sea Scrolls, well, the biblical Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as the sectarian Dead Sea Scrolls, this is how they're written, without vowel signs, because they're over 2,000 years old, most of them, right? So the book of Genesis will be written like this: Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz, like that. No vowel markers, no nikudot, no nikud, no dots. Okay. After, I'll go back. I don't know why that happened. After the Masoretes adjusted the text, this is what it looks like. So if you buy a Hebrew Bible today, it will have these dots added onto it. Okay. You will get to where you can read this top one without the vowels because you'll just be familiar with the words, right? And you don't need the vowels. But nevertheless, your Hebrew Bible will have it in there. So, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim. Okay, so I don't know why my thing just wants to change to the next page. I don't know what's up with that, but I guess maybe it's ruach. So let's just continue. So these are the signs you need to learn for the vowel pronunciations for biblical Hebrew. Okay, so you need to learn the alephbet and these vowel markers, the sounds that they make. I do not care if you know the names. You can save yourself time and just learn what the sound is that they make, okay? So we have different types of classes. We have A class, which means it's kind of like an A in English, right? So this sign, and we're just using aleph here so you see where it goes on the letter, will be underneath the letter. It looks like a capital T. That's ah, as in father. The sign patach is also ah, as in father. Chata patach is also ah, as in father. The E class, this sign is A, like pray. The shorter one is like melech, king. Or like Canadian might say, Chatav segol, which is a half, is But for practical purposes today, these two we pronounce the same. The chirik is an I class. This is, it can be E or it can be I, right? E as in she, or it can be I, like in hit. Let me add this to the, it can be like hit also. Like hit pa'el, or hit palel, to pray. So it can be like a short I, or it can actually be elongated as well. Okay. Let me just see something here real quick. Oh no, turn off subtitles. Hold on. I accidentally clicked subtitles. I don't want it to try to recognize my voice. That'll slow down things. Okay. And then the long chirik is a dot with the yod after it. See, the yod is being a vowel letter. So E, like Susi, my horse. Not my key, not key in Tagalog, but my horse. Okay, and then the O class up here and over here, we have a cholim, which means you have your letter, and a little dot next to it, that's O, like snow, or you can write it with a vav and a dot on top, O. The other O class down here, sometimes this letter here, look, they look the same. Look, it's the same, it's actually the same, not letter, the same diacritic, the same marker. Sometimes it's A, sometimes it's O. The rule is a bit complicated, you'll learn that later. And then finally, the half comets, this one's always O. In Ashkenazi, German, Jewish, Hebrew, this is always an O also, so it's easier, but oh well. And then finally, we have the U class. We have kibbutz, which is U as in rule, or it can be O. It can also be UH. 3 dots like that. Or the long one, which is a vav with a dot in it, is U. Okay? So maybe screenshot that if you need to. Learn those sounds. I do not care if you learn the names of them yet. Okay? You'll get that just as I say them over time. Okay, changing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next screen. Okay, so you probably noticed the way that I was moving my cursor around that the reading in Hebrew is not just right to left. Really what your eyes are doing, you are tracing right to left, but look what happens. You come to the letter, you look underneath. There's a search pattern. Is there a vowel sign underneath? There is. Okay, go up, next letter. Oh, there's a vowel sign. There is. Oh, next letter. There's a vowel sign. There is. And then the next letter. Okay, we're searching the top and the bottom and next to the consonant. The vowel sound for the consonant can be underneath, or it can be next to it, or it can be up on top. Okay, so this word says and then we don't pronounce the ayin anymore. It would have been like oh. We don't do it anymore. Arabic still pronounces theirs. And then ah, oh. So He'afar. He'afar, the dust. Okay. Now here the sheen, it's got this red dot here, showing us it's a sh, right? If it was over here, it'd be s. So here's another example. A lot of texts, they will write a word like this. They'll combine the dot from the sheen with the dot from the cholim. So if you have a good text, like the Koren publishers, they won't do this. So here, let me just draw the O sound here. So we actually have a cholim that's here. Most texts, they'll draw it as two different dots, but many will not. So, no vowel underneath. There's nothing here. Come up next to it, nothing here. On the way back up, there he is. There's the O. So, O, shech, O, shech, choshech. Okay, and eventually your eyes won't be going all up and down, zigzagging like that. You'll just get used to it. Choshech, which means darkness. Here's another example. And again, let me add the O sound in there. This is just demonstrating that the O sound can combine. Oh, he's there. He's there. I'm sorry. He's there in this one. All right, let's erase that. Doesn't want to erase. Okay, there we go. So this one, k, like a Q, but you can make it similar to K. K, nothing underneath, nothing next to it. There's our vowel. So k, O, d, d, e, sh, kodesh, kodesh, which means holy. Wow, that turned. I did not tell it to turn. Yeah, I wonder if there's some timers that got saved on these. It's the last time I